So, little bit of history. This car's from Arizona, and Arizona's pretty much only made out of rocks, so there's rock chips everywhere. And it might be hard to see during the day. Yeah, there's thousands, right? Thousands of these things. But there's also a lot of really big ones, like this huge one there, a couple big ones there. So I went and got, well, actually I bought it like a year ago, which is the shelf life of the paint, so I'm going to try to use it now. But Dr. Color Chip, I'm going to try it out. It comes with some kind of prep thing, which is probably rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. This stuff is to blend it after it's flattened. So the whole idea is you use whatever applicator they have, and you put the paint next to the chip, and then you use this little green guy in here. I don't want to get too many oils on these stuff, so you use this green thing to like smear it flat into the chip, and then you wait like it's hot out, so probably like 3 minutes, and then you use the white one with this stuff to like dissolve the extra paint that's on the body without dissolving too much that's in the chip, and then you buff it dry. Good to go. So I'm going to start on the left side of the car, doing a little bit at a time. I won't do a ton tonight, but I'll just kind of work my way this way, hitting the biggest ones I see. And part of me wonders if some of these areas, if I don't just like smear it over everything and see what it fills in. It'll be an experiment, because it's not going to be worse, right? Well, I guess it could be worse, but I don't think it'll be worse. Alright, this is our cleaner. I guess it's probably isopropyl alcohol, but there's some kind of scent in it. It doesn't smell like alcohol, it smells like soap. You have to what? Yeah, go poop in the toilet, dude. That's where it's supposed to go.
I'll hold on to this for you. Go poop.
Yeah, go in there and do it. Hurry up. Yeah, she'll come with you. So, now that's clean, and he's pooping. So I see there's a couple little raised edges on there, which I don't think I want to leave in place. So I'm going to grab a pick and kind of poke at those. Right, and actually this one, I don't remember this chip, so I think this is recent. They just put that bullshit down on their road where they spray the sticky stuff all over. Okay, yeah, that comes up a little bit. And then they put all the rocks down, and from what I understand, they're supposed to put that stuff down and then like steamroll it, and then take a brush and brush it all away, but of course, local government, they're cheap, so instead they let the cars push it all down, which is like, I have a big crack in my windshield, but I'm not going to put a new windshield on until that stuff's cleared out, because it's just giving everybody rock chips. Yeah, so I like that. Those edges are a little more feathered. Put more of this stuff on there. There's no flakes in it. I think that'll stick way better. It can't be too clean, right? Let's see. So yeah, next step is wiping stuff into it. So I think this is so big, I'm just going to use the dropper straight out of the bottle and see how that goes before I use any of the smaller tools. And really, this video isn't at all about doing chip repair. It's about buying some Kirkland slides so you can be cool like your friend Steve. It says to put it next to it. I feel like it's kind of silly. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, I'm not doing that again. It's like, oh, put it next to it and squeegee it in. Just squeegee it in. Like, I get the idea, right, is to make the paint super thin around the chip while it still fills the chip. So I wonder, maybe I should have won I don't want to put this edge and try to keep the paint all in the same spot so I can wipe it off. But I kind of want that to raise up. So I want this edge, like, make sure the chip is higher than everything else, because when it dries it's going to shrink too. Alright. I'm so bad at this. This is why I try to make stuff fast. I don't worry about body work. Alright, we'll see how that goes. Worst case, I can buff it down with big tools. I'm going to go wipe this off with a rag and let it dry for 3 to 5 minutes. Alright, considering how thick this is, I decided to wait the whole 5 minutes, but it tells you to use this stuff in a quarter-sized amount. Well, I cut the cloth down into smaller pieces too, so there's a bunch of stuff. They tell you to use the palm of your hand because they wanted to make sure it's flat and like light pressure. And just keep rubbing around. It's supposed to dissolve everything. Awesome. And I think, actually, yeah, that the big splotch that still looks shiny, it's quite a bit more shiny, I thought. She's hiding, Harrison. Go get her. Yeah, it's really thick. It's not very even, and I can see some silver through it, so I think once this looks flat enough, I'll probably buff it and then do more, because it maybe just pulled a bunch out. Yeah, I think it just pulled a bunch out of there. So, but nothing's raised up anymore. So at this point it tells you, oh, like buff it. Like you don't wait, you don't do anything, you just buff it. You buff that thing out. So I'm gonna go grab that microfiber and go ham. Alright, so yeah. Buff, 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 buff. Yep, it seemed to have not really affected much of the other paint. It seems to look good, except that it's not all the way filled in. It filled in a bit, but not like an insane amount. So I'm just gonna layer this up. I'm gonna do this all over again, but this time I'm gonna try using the eyedropper instead of the so just pouring it out and squeegeing it over. Then maybe I can just let it sit there as a little bubble, be a little more careful with it.
6, 7, 8.
Okay, eyedropper. I'm gonna poke it in here anyway. Nope, I can't reach. It's not long enough. Story of my life. That's a lot. That's okay. I got a lot of chips. So if I just put a little bit in, a little more focused here. We'll let that sit. See, oh, she found you. Nerd.
Okay.
Hilarious. Okay, round 2. This one I waited 4 minutes. So we'll get a little bit of this stuff on there.
I want that one, my blueberry juice.
What? Your blueberry juice? Yeah, it just like pulls it out and you can see the bottom. But I'm trying to not make the top too raised. And it's still better than the first time. So, not going to go overboard. I'm going to buff it. I'm just going to keep adding layers and I'll let you know how many layers it took. Alright, I had a new idea. Instead of putting a bunch of layers on, I put some more in there and we'll let it wait longer than their 3 to 5 minutes. I'm just going to really let that stuff set up before I hit it, because I think it's so thick that the middle is still soft. So as soon as I hit it with that stuff, here's the cleaner. I'm going to do a big area this time. Because the middle is not set, it just peels everything off with that top layer that's skimmed over. So we'll see. In worst case, if it ends up bubbled up too thick, whoopsie, I can just hit it with rubbing compound and it'll look great anyway. Come on, camera. I washed this yesterday. No kind of like wax or coating or anything, but I do want to make sure it's nice and clean. And this is like lots of little chips. Hopefully they're visible on the camera. And what I'm going to do is start up here and just squeegee some fluid all over the thing and see what it looks like. It'll just be one really good section. People wonder what's up. Okay, that should work. And this one I'm not going to use the eyedropper because I'm going to actually put quite a bit of paint down. There's 6 drops. That's probably way more than I need, but we will find out. I'm going to go right along this body line and just try to squeegee paint into every single little rock chip and make it look really stupid and messy. It's starting to dry already. Okay, yep, so we have a big area of dried goofball paint. So this one I'm only going to wait 3 minutes because those are all small chips. I just don't think, yeah, we need to stop touching it. So watch my timer, wait 3 minutes. I'll hit it with the whatever blending crap and then buff it. Alright, it's been a little over 3 minutes. That original one I did is there. I'm going to try my palm. Well, I can't fit my palm in there really with the camera legs. Doesn't matter. Maybe it does. Maybe that's my biggest mistake. Rubber, 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 rub. I hope it kind of shows on the camera. You can see like these weird lines and stuff, that it hasn't dissolved yet. And the idea is you just like rub around until that stuff goes away, but the deeper stuff doesn't. And it might be that I just need to come back and hit this with a buffer because of what I actually just did to my car. Womp womp. Yeah, I guess we'll see lots of lines. It hasn't dissolved anything yet. Well, it has, but not enough. No, kid went inside. Now the dog's having a total freak out. Oh no, he's outside. Caroline's inside. I'm over here, nerd! Okay, so down here it's actually starting to smooth out. I'm by the car! Anyway, this stuff's starting to dry out. Considering how much I put down, it makes sense to have to use more volume of this to dissolve it. More of an instructional video of how to ruin your paint. I doubt it. I think it's going to come out really nice. You can kind of see like spots where it's too thick. There's like a little white edge to it. And they tell you just to go in one direction on there. I don't know if that's the best idea, but like if I go in circles, does it really matter? I doubt it. I'm thinking with how hot it is right now, 3 minutes might have been too long, even. Oh, well, I don't know. Give it time to work. That stuff came out right there. And there's stuff that I ignored and it's starting to dry, so maybe I tried too big of an area. No, that stuff's pulling apart right there too. It's starting to look good, I think. Rubby. A little white section on the bottom. I'm going to give us a little more on a new section. Let's really make the whole thing. Make sure there's not like huge dry spots when I come to buff it. Okay, so right down here is the last of like that kind of whitish glaze that I saw. I probably should have watched way more videos on this. I can feel that too, chunk. And probably if I wait a week and then hit this with polishing compound, it's going to look amazing. Alright, I'm pretty satisfied with that. I don't have any like weird bumpy areas. I can't feel anything with my thumb as I go across. There's a couple chips that look like they still poke through, but that's okay. I'm just gonna back this up so I don't hit the camera as much while I polish it. Oh wow. That looks so much better. There's still spots that need more, but a lot of the tiny stuff is just gone. It'll be way more apparent, I think, once it's dark out and I come out here with a light. But really, hope I can get close enough. You can see, if we look right here, here's that one that I'm going to do in a minute, because I've been letting it cure longer. And then here's chips. And then, actually kind of looks like it still sucks. No, from where I'm, maybe on the camera, but I definitely see a difference between the two. Like a lot of these things where like it's a chip and I can see the reflection a little bit, but I can't see silver like I did before. So I might do that same thing just a couple times, but there's no weird lines, nothing that makes me think that it's gonna look dumber. Like it definitely, especially like right here, like at this distance, but on my eyeball I really only see like 3 things there, whereas I see 100 right here. So we'll see how this one I did super thick comes out. So that big boy right there has been sitting, looking at my stopwatch, 12 and a half minutes. So, right, a lot longer than the 3 to 5 they recommend. we'll see what happens. I'll just sit here and I'm barely letting my finger touch it. I'm just feeling that lip until I feel like it's flat with the surrounding paint. There's still a recess to it, so I'll probably do, this is the third layer, but so far I like what's going on way better than the first couple times. So if I continue to build that up, I think it's going to turn out really well. Okay, right there I think we don't have anything protruding, but I don't see any silver anymore, which is great. So I'm going to buff that down. Yeah, so up close, it's still a chip, but it's not silver anymore. So right about here, this is where my eyeballs lose it. From this distance, I can't even tell that there's a chip there. And if I step in, and at the right angle, yeah, right about here, I can start to see it, but that might be light angle too. Either way, that's way better than it was. And I'm gonna keep coming back to this one right here and filling it and filling it and filling it and see if I can get it level. And while I do that, I'm going to do the same thing I did here, where I try to do a larger area and just see how it comes out. But I'm not going to do anything on the right half of the car. I'll just work over here. That way, what?
Can you put some more water in my water table?
Yeah, for sure.
Can you do it now?
Yes.
Because that...
Here, run over there. I got to get a hose. Yeah, so after we do water table, I'll work on this side, and then when it gets dark, I can bring the light out here and show like what this side looks like. It looks like stars in the sky in the middle of nowhere because there's so many chips. So hopefully that'll be a good indication of how well this stuff kind of fills it in. Progress update, I did an area here, which looks pretty good, and then the fourth layer of this actually expose some bare metal again, so I put a really thick one on for number 5, and then I'm going for the gold here. So I did from about where my hand's at all the way down with the eyedropper, because I was starting to make a mess out of the bottle, and all these parts that are like turning white pretty quickly. I'm not going to wait the whole 3 minutes, so I was at 3:15 when I finished that spot, which is the timer for that. I'm going to give that 15 minutes before I mess with it. And we're already at 4:15, we're a minute in. I'm only gonna wait 2 minutes before I buff that big section out. I don't know if it's dark enough yet. It was like pitch black when I did it before, but oh yeah, no, even right now I can see like tons of chips over here in white spots, and then here's that big area I just did. Like I can see some divots and some spots that I probably missed, but overall, like left to right, it looks so much better. And then from you get back just a little bit and the angle just right, like they all just disappear, where these, because it's silver, you know, they pop. So I'm gonna try another technique, because it's clear to me now after doing this big area that I'm not gonna make things worse. I could spill a pound of this stuff on top of the car and it would be fine. So I'm gonna go up here further, where they're a little further apart, and grab that little dropper guy. Not the dropper, one of the, whatever it's called, one of the brushes. And I'm just going to hit every little spot, and I'm not going to squeegee it. I'm just going to have little dots everywhere, and then try buffing that out and see how it goes. Okay, and aside from that one big chip that I keep layering up, I think this will be the last section I do, because it's getting hard to see the chips. But if I just like boop boop, just kind of like start hitting stuff machine gun style, because every single one of these is a little teeny tiny chip. This might work out better than the area thing, even though it's more tedious, because that area, it used a lot of the blending compound to get stuff to go away, and there's just so much extra hanging out that I'm not sure it's worth it. But also could be because I was doing 4 times the area it suggests you do. Whereas this, I can just kind of pick out, if it's white, I tap it. If it's white, I tap it. Just tiny, tiny bits. And you can clean this tool with acetone. I hope I have some acetone. But if I don't, it's not the end of the world. There's another one that's a little bit bigger. It would hold a little more paint all at once. Like this seems tedious, but I think it's going to be less tedious than the kind of like buffing process. I just touch stuff, and when it's not silver, I go on to the next spot. If I go from the big ones to the little ones, it'll be fine. I'll probably set my hand in a bunch of it. I can see like some scratches from buffing too, but whatever it's called to pull that out. Get some polishing compound and stuff that runs on electricity, and that'll fix everything. It's kind of fun to just experiment, see what works and what doesn't. This seems like it'll work pretty well, unless it's so thin this way that it just doesn't show up. That's a bug. Buttholes. One of the other reasons I have to kind of like stop soon is that it's starting to cool off, so dew's going to drop, and then the car will have a thin layer of water on it, and that's not good for anyone. There's so many chips. I mean, maybe the squeegee is better, I don't know. Hopefully I don't forget where all these are. I'll see them in the daylight, that's for sure. I don't know how well it'll buff out the day after. I think the idea behind this stuff is that it cures really fast, but you're kind of like polishing out while it's curing. Yeah, I'll get it. Okay, that's about as much as my brain can handle. I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, so doing it one dot at a time, what I noticed, if I kind of wipe everything down and let it flash with the buffing compound, it makes these white dots, right? So bunch of white dots, bunch of white dots. And then if I focus on, let me get some on the rag here. So if I focus on just these four, and I just kind of like wipe them, keep wiping them, keep wiping them, and I can still see a little bit of white, so I'm just going to keep using the stuff until, oh, they're a little bit one away and somewhere away on that. And now I can't tell the difference between the dot and the paint around it. If I sit and let it kind of dry up, I don't know how long it'll take, but I'm not seeing any of those dots anymore. Like right here, where some that get on there, there's still a dot. If I just keep rubbing it until I don't really see a dot, then I know it's blended in, right? So I just go around the car looking for white dots and then hit them until they feel smooth. You can feel it with your finger when it sticks out. Okay, keep going, keep going. More. Blend, 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 blend until I don't have dots. And I worry a little bit because this isn't drying as fast as it was before, that I'm starting to get dew on the car. Hopefully not. I mean, we'll know in the morning too. If anything looks super wonky, I'll definitely come out and do a follow-up. Yeah, so right there, don't really have any dots. They don't stick out like they do everywhere else where I just kind of glazed it. So I'll just keep going over those, making sure to keep the surface as wet as I can without having too much, if that makes any sense. When it's all done, I'll hit it with the microfiber and buff it. And it's getting dark enough, I think we'll be able to have a pretty decent check-in to see how things are looking. But it's definitely, I mean, under the light right now, way better. Way better than it used to be. So I'm super happy with this thing for the price. Definitely worth it, even if you have 8 bajillion rock chips like I did. So I'll finish up this section I did now, buff it, and see how it looks. Okay, I'm gonna try for a good angle on that guy as an example. Right, so right there, it's white, and if I go over it, you can see it's still kind of white, and then all of a sudden it'll blend in with the rest and it doesn't look white anymore. Like you can barely see it, and then oop, you can feel it with your finger a little bit too, like it'll get smooth, and then suddenly it won't stick out like a sore thumb, even though you're putting this over the top. These, I don't know, no, that's too far away. It's like that guy maybe. It's white. I think on camera, as soon as they get wet, you're not going to see that it still has a little bit of white to it. You just keep smearing it, let it do its thing, and like I said, like you'll feel it. You'll feel it with your finger, kind of like when you do clay bar, right? You'll get to a point where you're like, oh, like that's smooth. Like it's not. It's like you got rid of whatever was there, and suddenly it's smooth again. So that's what I'm focusing on for the rest of these. And the light helps a ton, and actually having the sun go down a bit helps a ton too. So I'm just gonna keep at it until I feel like it's good. Right, just enough camera battery left, and it's dark enough out. I think we'll be able to tell what's up. So here's that right side that I didn't touch, and if I get the angle just right. It's a good angle. Right behind, above, well, tons of chips, right? Tons and tons of chips. And this left side, so here's center. Left side I didn't get every single one, but just looking with my eyeballs and through the camera, like my gosh, it looks so much better. And there's a little bit of streaking here and there from stuff that's left over, but I think that once I get my wheel on it and buff it out a bit, it's like, oh, it's just going to look so much better. To me, at least. I don't think anyone else will notice. Yeah. No, they come back to this side. Yeah, everyone will notice. Even my wife might notice. So, yeah, really like that stuff. I don't know what kind of magic they have going on, because it dries up really fast. And they say right on the package that you can wash it immediately. Wait 3 days to applying wax or sealant, 7 days for ceramic coating. So it cures really fast. And I have a ton of paint left. Like I'm kind of convinced that I could almost paint a whole car with that one little jar. And that's how much of the rub I used, and barely any of the cleaner. So if you buy one of these kits, they don't give me any money. Nobody gives me money for this shit. It's gonna do everything. I have more rock chips on this car than anybody on the planet, so super happy with how that came out. And it's too dark now, but there's spots. I think there's some back here, maybe in this door jamb. Yeah, like right here there's a huge gash. So depending on how this one goes, I've done 6 layers so far, and there's still a little bit of silver coming through after every time I buff it, but it's like the edges keep climbing in as I make it level. So I think if I just keep hitting that, it's eventually going to fill in, and nobody will know that it ever existed.